let us start. Hi, good morning, Ravishankar and Milan. Thank you for joining us today.
Good morning.
Good
So
morning.
let us start with a quick introduction of both of you.
Okay, so I am Ravishankar Joshi. I recently gave a talk which some of you might have watched, and I am a 2020 batch computer science student from BITS Pilani Goa campus, and I I have participated in various coding competitions, and I have gone to ICPC regionals twice, and I interned at Google, and yeah, I think that's a short introduction about me.
Hello everyone. My name is Milan Bavishi. I am currently doing my BTech in Computer Science and Engineering at MNIT Allahabad. So I live in Bhavnagar. So yeah, and I interned with Walmart last summer in June, July, and I'll be joining Unacademy as a software engineer in the upcoming months. So, and I'll be graduating in this July 2020.
Okay. I thank you both on behalf of GEC Bhavnagar for taking this interest in helping our students in learning data structures and algorithms. So first of all, I want to ask both of you that what motivated you for getting started with programming? How did you get interested in coding?
The motivation for coding was basically like every student in engineering, we wanted a job, and from the first year, we uh, we were told by our seniors that to get the job in computer science and engineering, you must do coding. Like for me, the basic motivation was this, but eventually I found that coding is very interesting. Like if you are problem solver, you like to solve puzzles, then you will like to solve you will be liking to solve the coding questions. So yeah, so in the end it became like a hobby. Yeah, so I found the coding questions very interesting to solve, and yeah, it's like a hobby right now.
And what about you, Ravi Shankar?
Okay, so when I joined BITS, I think around in my first month of college itself, we had a few talks from seniors, including one guy Raghav Pasi, who got a good Kickstart rank and had interned at Google in his third year summer, and he told us about what is competitive coding and what are other forms of coding like Android and web development and so on. And I think he motivated all of us to get started with competitive coding in first year itself. So like I created a CodeChef account around I think 15th August in my first year. So yeah, I think around 15 days into college, and I think when I joined CodeChef and started doing long and short contests, I found that like they were a good way to improve my data structures and algorithm skills. And as Milan said, it like I was interested in solving puzzles from a young age, and this showed up as a new way of solving puzzles. And so that's how it got started. And other than that, like I was doing some basic C programming or something from 8th or 9th standard, and as I tried doing computer programming from first year, what I realized was that like when I was doing basic C programming or such things in school, or C or Java, whatever we have in Gujarat board, what we lacked was a set of problems that we have to solve. So like basically we did questions like what printing patterns, or maybe finding cube of a number and such things, but we did not have the kind of algorithmic puzzles or the kind of questions that that require use of your brain. So such kind of questions I could find on websites like CodeChef, HackerRank, and so on, and that motivated me to continue learning programming. And along with that, I also learned many so the first language that I learned was C, and after that I switched to C++ and learned many language features like C++, HTL, and so on, because they ease the work of doing competitive programming. And after that I learned other languages like Java and Python. And yeah, I think I still do competitive coding mainly in C++, but competitive coding has helped me improve my thinking abilities and data structures and algorithm skills. And basically competitive programming is a way to improve your implementation skills, so that if someone tells you that you have to solve this particular kind of problem, which may not be necessarily related to computer programming. Let's say you have one file which has some 10,000 lines which storing some data, and you want to find whether there is a line which has this particular uh, pattern. And so you can apply some of the ideas of computer programming here also. So that's how it works.
Okay. So Ravishankar, you gave me a very detailed answer about, what motivated you about programming, but I would like to dig a little deeper on this, that how did you get started with programming? Like, what were the things you learned first? What kind of resources or coding platforms did you use? How did you learn data structures and algorithms? And, everybody needs some help when they get stuck. So how
Yeah.
did you find that help for yourselves? And this question is again for both of you.
Okay, so how did I get started with programming? So what happened was I learned basic C programming when I was in school, and then when I moved to college in my first year, I uh, did a few online courses like that. I think there is one Udemy C++ beginner to expert, and a few similar courses. And we and there are also two books. One is Accelerated C++, one is Effective Modern C++. So my friend had this book, and I read from that book, and that Accelerated C++ book is a good way to get started on C++. And what happens in programming was that first I was just trying to solve some code chef problems in C, or by like towards the end of my first year, and I was also learning C++ in my first year. And what happened was which resources did I use? So I used these books for books and online courses for learning C++. And for learning data structures and algorithms, I did not follow very particularly structured path, because I think at the time there were not these many resources that are available at this time. But if someone wants to learn now, what I would recommend is the CodeChef certification programs curriculum, because it has a good list of resources for all the data structure and algorithms topics. And for DSA, I did Stanford's algorithms course from Coursera, which is a really good course. And like I think it focuses more on theoretical aspects rather than practical. But I solved their programming assignments as well and submitted them on Coursera. And I think those assignments, I think doing that course in first year also like helped me a lot. And it built a strong theoretical foundation is in which I can, like, if I give some solution, I can also prove things like whether the solution has optimal time complexity and and such things. And yeah, I think this. And what else for getting help? Yeah, for platforms and resources, I made my accounts on CodeChef, CodeForces, HackerRank, and HackerEarth, and these four are the platforms that I used mainly. And how did I get the help? So to get help, I think we had quite good coding culture in BITS Goa. So what happens is if we already know that we have some ex senior who is 1 year senior to us, and we can just ask him on WhatsApp, or we can just go to his room and ask some doubts. So this is one thing that really helped us. And in my second year, we started this Algomaniacs coding club, in which we regularly took lectures for juniors, and we also set contests. So this is how we help juniors. And what kept motivated you about being a good programmer? So I think I answered a part of this in the previous question itself. So, to my biggest motivation to become a good programmer was to learn good skills so that I can become a better software engineer. Because as we know, software engineering is not just about programming; it has other things also. But programming is one of the main, one of the foundational aspects of it. So if one doesn't know programming well, he will not be able to get a good job, as well as not like if even if she get a good job somehow, he will not be able to do the dev work well. So this is one of the things. Now I think Milan can continue.
Yeah, Milan, please.
Yeah, so I did start with programming after my 12th standard JEE advanced exam actually. So I did this course on C programming language just to introduce myself with C programming. And then in college, I was instructed by our seniors. In college, on the first day itself, every branch student has their meeting with their seniors. So our final year seniors motivated us to do the competitive program. So I think in the mid of my first semester, I started coding on HackerRank, and I think I solved more than 50 or 50 to 70 questions in my first year. So like that was the start of my competitive programming career. And then uh, what platform and resources. So platforms I used. So mainly I started with HackerRank first, and then I switched to Hacker Earth because it had questions as well as the tutorials to read. And then in
Yeah,
second
cool.
year I did CodeChef long contest. So basically long contest has variety of problems. So you can, so if you are in learning phase, so if you are starting with programming, it is a good way to learn new things. Like we had questions on tree, DP, graphs, and normal ad hoc questions like on maths, number theory. So like the long contest had helped me too much in developing my coding skills. And then I switched to Code Forces mainly because Code Forces has these short contests which are called dev contests. So uh, they are they mostly help you to increase your speed in solving problems. There are only 3 hours coding contest, and there are mainly 5 or 6 questions in each contest, and you need to solve the questions quickly to get a good rank, or otherwise your ratings will go down. These platforms helped me. And then uh, in my so before the starting of my intern interviews, I did various problems on interview bit. And for now I am my mainly doing questions on lead code. So lead code is very good programming site, and it is recommended by many people. So if you are like doing a crash course on interviews and you want to solve variety of problems which are mainly asked in interviews, so I think lead code is very good way. But if you are targeting elite contest ACM ICPC, so yeah, you should do competitive programming on platforms like CodeChef, Code Forces. But anyway, each if you the platforms doesn't matter, the quality of questions you do that matters. So any platform you start with, they will eventually help you in becoming a better program. So and how and from whom did you get help? So yeah, we have a Facebook group in our college, which is made by our seniors from competitive coding club. So what we can do, if I'm stuck on any problem, I can put the question link and my solution link. So like what approach I did use to first solve the question, and so we can upload the question and the solution link, and then I can ask the seniors, so what am I doing wrong in my solution, so they can reply me in comments. And generally this approach worked very well. So because there are many seniors who are actively who are active in Facebook, and generally I can get my answer in a half day or day in one day, and I can move along with the question. So yeah, the help from senior was very good. And also, if you have a good programmer friend, you can get help from your friends also. And the motivation for being a good programmer was, yeah, actually Ravi Shankar said it, that it helps you to increase your thinking ability. And in future, when you are uh, developing any software, then if you want to optimize the performance, the competitive coding skills are are only way, I think, to achieve this. And uh, it improves your thinking ability. So eventually you are becoming good software engineer, and who will write good code.
High
And
performance.
yeah, high performance code.
Okay, okay, great. So I have another question, and this is regarding the recruitment done at big top companies, big tech companies. For example, if we look at Google, Microsoft, Amazon, these companies generally, they primarily hire from premier institutes, and generally they don't come for recruitment from developing institutes like GEC Bhavnagar. So why do you think that it is that this top tech companies prefer to hire from premier institutes? Like, of course, it is established that these premier institutes are are producing good engineers, but why is that? Since you both are from such institutes, so why do you think that the after 4 years spent on your campuses, you become a good engineer? What ensures that?
I think if we are talking about the placements, the alumni alumni of our college, they are the big key. They play a big key role here, because let's say your training and placement office want to connect to any company. So like they generally find some alumni who are working at there. And then the alumni can ask to HR that you should hire from our college. We have big talented students in here. So like alumni are the link between our training placement office and the company. So just like once alumni can establish a relation between the company and the training placement office. And then if they find that there are good software engineers we are getting from this college, so eventually they will uh, come for another year, and so on. So like to start the link, I think alumni are the best way to establish a relation between company and college. So yeah, and I think the name, like NITs, IITs, so they are in Institute of National Importance. And also like BITS is not behind NITs, like they are already on the level of IITs actually. So yeah, I think the name also matters, because they are producing good talent every year. So companies believe them that we are going to get good software engineers from this college. So yeah, I think this matters the most.
Would you like to add something to this, Ravishankar?
Yeah, so I would like to say, I think Milan talked about half of the topics, so like rest half I will talk about. So what will happen is, according to me, one of the reasons why companies come to premier institutes like ours, like IITs, BITS, NITs, triple ITs, and so on, is because not just these two factors like alumni and brand name, but because we have rigorous academics, and we also have competitive coding culture, we have GSOC culture, we have what else, research culture as well, which is well established in BITS Goa. So what happens is, if we want to talk about academics, so like what happens is, like in many of our courses we have regular weekly labs in which we have tough questions set in the labs, as well as we have lab exams in which those questions are some similar tough questions are asked. And in the written exams also we have questions which involve coding. So I think Milan might also agree. So I think in most of my CS courses, which were like 15 to 20 CS courses that I took in college, I think in none of the courses I had to write subjective written answers like explain what is a linked list, something those kind of questions.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think we always have almost always have application based question in labs as well as in written exams. And other than so this is about rigorous academics, and at sometimes people even find that our academics are sort of that sometimes our professors might also find that our labs are sort of that probably teaching assistant should reduce the level. And another thing is that I was talking about competitive coding culture. So like if you just go to CodeChef and try to find the number of people from BITS Goa who are let's say 5-star and above, you'll probably find that in every batch we have like 4 or 5 people who are 5-star and above. And so that competitive coding culture, as well as if we see the number of participants in ACM ICPC, so that's quite high. And then every year we have like at least 7 to 10 GSOC selections from BITS Goa in a year. And then I think till now, I think BITS Goa has not seen any ACM ICPC world finalist team, but every year we have like 2-3 teams in each regionals, like depend on the maximum limit that they keep. And I think what else? Research culture. So I think this doesn't affect many companies, but a few research oriented, like let's say Microsoft Research or Adobe Research, etc., may get affected. So what happens is we have on campus research which is very good, maybe not at the par of foreign institutes or maybe old IITs, but still we have decent research culture in which what happens is we have PhD students who are doing research on topics including machine learning, which are like really high in demand right now. And they also publish into good conferences. I think BITS Goa, I think the bio department in BITS Goa is really doing great work in computational biology, and they recently published 2 or 3 papers in nature journals. And then we have, I think recently one paper from BITS Goa was published in a top machine learning conference, but I cannot remember exactly if it was NIPS or AAAI, but it was one of the two. And then yeah, I think this helps. So because of this, every year I think 4 to 5 students from BITS Goa get 6 months internship at Microsoft Research India, and that's one of the very good research institutes in India. And other than that, our students often get research internships in foreign universities. So that's also one of the factors that it brings research companies into our campus.
Very, very interesting. So, on that note, you mentioned once or twice that there is very good coding culture at your institute. And in fact, I was personally checking CodeChef ranking of various Indian users, and I found that most of the 7-star users on CodeChef from India were from your campus. Actually, I could
Yeah.
find like some 3 or 4 people. I could connect with them as well. So my next question is again to both of you, that of course your institutes has very good coding culture, but why is that? Like, how can you pull this over every batch? It's not just in 2019 it was good coding culture and it's dropping in 2018. 2018 it is a continuous thing. Every year there are good coding like good programmers coming out of your institutes, winning these competitions, getting good rankings on these websites like CodeChef. So, can you tell us about like what makes a good coding culture and why it works so well on your campuses? Maybe Milan, you would want to take this first.
Yeah. So, like in our college, the competitive coding culture is good because of the seniors, I think. So from first year, seniors guide us to do the competitive coding. So if you are not familiar with syntax, they organize the classes for to get the students familiarized with syntax, like syntax of C, the C++ SQL libraries, which is very much used in the competitive programming. So I think the part of seniors, I think that is the most helpful in this. And so suppose if you are a first year student and you start programming from first year, then after 3 years, I think you can be a very good programmer if you solve, suppose 700 problems in 3 years. So you would have tried variety of questions, and then you can level up your coding skills. So that's the reason that suppose from a batch of 250 students from CS and IT, there are always more than 30-40 students who are very good programmer, who can reach CodeChef 5 star, or maybe uh, there are some students who are in Code Forces candidate master or master level. So yeah, I think the motivation and guidance from the seniors, I think that helped us, that helped the college very much. And also, as Ravishankar said, we have good lab courses in data structure and algorithm. We have good labs, so I think that have helped very much in. So academic curriculum is very good in our college, uh, uh, and I think every college should have this competitive coding club, and from which Ravishankar, as Ravishankar said, they have Algomaniacs Club, and we have competitive coding. So that is actually called MNIT CC, MNIT Competitive Coding Club. So uh, I think this type of clubs help very much, and uh, these clubs are mainly organized by final years seniors, and they prepare third year seniors to take their position next year. So I think once you start the chain, it will be helpful from for upcoming batches. So it's just matter of starting the chain reaction here. So like if you are giving a head start to any college student that you should do this, and when they come in final year, they can teach, they can pass on that knowledge to their next batch, and then they can pass on to their next batch. So I think that helps the college, that helps the college very much. And uh, then if the college is producing very good competitive program, eventually the companies will come to the college that this college has very good lot of competitive programming students who are doing very well in competitive program. So yeah, and suppose if the students can't, if the companies is not coming, students can apply off campus, and if they are getting a good job, then they can persuade the HRs to come to their college next year, so uh, they can help boosting the placements of the college. So yeah, I think uh, this helps very much in our college.
Hi Ravishankar, would you like to add something to this? Why BITS Pilani Goa campus has such a good coding culture?
So I think similar to what Milan talked about, we when I was in first year, we had a WhatsApp group on which, like I think seniors from all the years as well as people from my batch when I was in first year, we talked about competitive codings, and what happened was seniors used to take lectures for us, and after each long contest and short contest, I think some of the times we tried to organize solution discussion lecture as well, which is a good thing, because like from like for first few questions, like first 3 or 4 questions in a long contest are easy, in div 2, and after that it gets difficult, and after a point, in each college only 1 or 2 people might be able to solve questions after that, so like they can share their knowledge. And in each batch, once we started this Algomaniacs Club, in each batch, this club keeps teaching the next batch of students, and because of that we have this kind of process, which is like principle of mathematical induction: p of n implies p of n plus 1, and based on that each batch keeps getting good. And yeah, I think, and also there is internal competition, which is one of the things I don't think Milan talked about. So like in each batch we have some internal competition in which everybody wants to get
Mhm.
everybody wants to become the best competitive programmer in their batch. Like, so we have like if there are like 10 people who are doing competitive programming actively in my batch, I would, and if I'm also one of them, I would want to beat all of them and get the highest rating on CodeChef by like doing well in their contest. So this is one of the things which keeps people motivated. I think Milan is also agreeing to this.
Yeah, yeah. So like in second year in the long contest, it was like a race for the first 10 days of the month. Like everyone wants to come top at the leaderboard. So one question in each long contest was having dynamic markers. So if your solution is optimal, you are solving many test cases. Then depending on that, you can get the marks. So like for that questions everyone would try hard to improve their solutions, so that helped
Because there is
in
popular question.
yeah, so like that race also helped very well. And yes, because of this the competitive coding culture is has been very good in our college. So like I think it is only the matter of guidance and good direction. So if you know that the people who are coming in the college have very good brains, but if the brain is directed in good direction, then I think it can help boosting the competitive coding culture is very. And also not just CSIT in our college, the EC department, electrical department, in even biotech and chemical students are placed in good IT companies. And we had one seniors from production engineering department, so he was like in the top two or three coders in our college. So yeah, like if you are not in computer science or IT, then also you can become a good competitive programmer, because it's just like solving puzzles. So if you have a very good brain and if you like solving puzzles, I think the competitive programming is fun for you. Maybe.
I would
Yeah.
like to add one more
Yeah,
point
yeah,
to what
please.
Milan said. So, I think he talked about brains, right? So, what happens is people in colleges like GC Bhavnagar assume that they are not as smart as premier institutes, but that's not really the case. So, what, according to me, your JE ranks, etc., don't really matter a lot after you join the college. So, like your
Mm.
PCM knowledge is not going to decide how much computer science you can learn or how much you did learn, or that's totally useless. So, what happens is once you join a college, what you do in the college matters the most, rather than about past things like JE rank or board percentage, etc. So what happens is once we join college, I think Milan can also agree, once we join college, what happens is we try to forget our JE past and we try to start from ground up. So that's one of the things that really makes us reach where we are.
Okay,
Yeah.
so just to quickly sum up, what makes a good coding culture at your institutes is, first of all, the competitive attitude among the students and the support from seniors and this programming clubs, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So my next question is that, see, both of you are already placed in very good companies, and of course there are so many other companies regularly visiting your campuses for recruitment, and every year, we know the numbers that they hire in bulk from your institutes. So I want to know that, how your institute helps you in getting placed or being employable, or developing the skills which are in demand in industries.
Okay, I would like to start first.
Okay.
Okay, so how does college prepare us? So I think the answer to this can range all the way from does not prepare us to prepares us really well, depending on whom you ask and how is the question, how does the student feel. So because like everybody does not get into best companies, and they might also whine about college because they might not like some things, but overall what I would say is the college prepares us by trying by bringing the companies for internships and placements, and then after that it's usually on us to correct the interviews. And like college cannot tell the company, like if Microsoft comes to our campus, they cannot say you have to hire at least 10 people, only then we will let you come next year, and so on. So that's usually dependent on students. And our students, as I talked earlier, we have rigorous academics, because of which in the labs, the teaching assistants set sort of labs that even I think in DSA labs itself we prepare enough for internship interviews, and then we have another course in third year which is called design and analysis of algorithms, in which we have advanced algorithms such as DP and some parts of approximation algorithms, NP complete algorithms, and so on. So yeah, unlike another thing that I would like to mention is that unlike GTU, what we have is our data structures and algorithms course contains both data structures and algorithms course. I think at GTU you have two different courses, right? On data structures and algorithms part. So we have that combined in one course, and then we also have a graph theory course, which I think Milan also has, and sometimes we also have some more courses from maths department like number theory, game theory, and so on. But usually those are not asked in placements, but anyway, just good for knowledge. And then in our design and analysis algorithms course, I think I still remember, I think there were very few labs, like 3 or 4 labs, but those labs were sort of that probably they were way beyond the level of what any company asks in placements. And they were probably code chef or hacker rank hard level questions. And yeah, I think one of the things that we have is relative grading. So because of that, what happens is if everybody scores less, the grade will be accordingly. So because of that, it does not affect the grade directly, but it helps improve the students so that they prepare well. And when the companies come for placements, they are prepared well and they do well in the coding tests as well as the interviews. And when I gave Microsoft coding tests in placements, I felt that it was something really easy, and probably I could have cracked that Microsoft coding test in second year itself. So that's how our students prepare, and I think Milan can continue.
Yeah, so like generally for fresh hiring, the companies mostly ask DSA questions. So I think if we talk about the college curriculum, the data structure, algorithms, and C programming class has helped many students. Like C programming just for syntax, the knowledge of syntax, and data structure for linked list and so on. And the algorithms course had like starting from binary search, we had the algorithms on graphs like BFS, DFS. So if someone is not doing competitive programming first, and then if they attend the classes very well and instructor is good, right? So I think they can crack the questions which are asked in competitive in the company tests. So yeah, I think these two courses helped very much. And other than that, we had operating systems, networking, and DBMS courses. So sometimes companies ask the questions which are which are categorized as fundamental computer science subjects. So uh, I think this can help students in some way, but mostly, generally, companies ask only DSA questions. Like in Google, also they have 5 rounds of interviews, out of which 4 rounds are mostly DSA coding interviews. And other than that, our training and placement office is organized by the students of the college itself. So uh, they help us very much, like in resume building, and they keeps session before the placements to guide us how to make a good resume for the upcoming placements. And for unplaced students, they try to organize mock interview sessions in which the placed students they can take the interviews of unplaced student. And also there is a mentoring system in which placed students can mentor an unplaced students, and help them how to crack the coding test of the companies, and how to like prepare for the interviews and so on. So like the TPO has done a very good job uh, in maintaining the states of the college placements. And yeah, I think the role of college has been good, but mostly the students has to do all the things him or herself. I think uh, the more practice you do, the more better you get at competitive programming, and then you can crack the coding interviews. So like for freshman jobs, I think competitive programming is must, and that is what that is depends on yourself. So like how much you practice coding questions. So I think college can help a bit, but mostly it all depends upon yourself.
Okay. So both of you talked about your curriculum at your respective institutes, like, and Milan, you told about you have courses on uh, databases and operating systems, and I think Ravishankar, you told about you have advanced courses on algorithms and data structures. So when I have personally, compared GTU's curriculum with other institutes' curriculums like yours, there is not fundamentally much difference. There are basic foundational courses are taught at both the universities. So I think the main difference is how these courses are conducted, and especially how much emphasis is given on the practical skill building part. And I think that when we say practical, we definitely want to talk about how labs are being conducted. So again, I would like you to give some insights on how labs are conducted at your institutes, like how much hours of a lab is, and what kind of tutorials you get there, how do you solve it, what role your teaching assistants play in that, how your course instructor is also involved in designing good lab manuals for you, how submissions work, and how overall this entire process contribute to making you a good engineer.
So in our college, what happens is, suppose you have a data structure course, and then we have a data structure lab in parallel. So what happens is, in every week, we had 4 hours of theory courses, theory lectures, and then 3 hours of lab. So and the instructor in both the classes are same. So what happens? First, they teach the theory part in the lab, in the theory lectures, and then in the lab they try to prepare the questions which are accordingly which he or she taught in the class. So I think that's a good way to improve the programming skills of students. Like if they can code the data structures like linked list, trees, and graphs. So it is good if you have such type of system in your college. And also in database course, we had lab in which uh, we tried to code SQL solutions for the problems, SQL queries, and TL SQL was also the part of database lab. And in networking, we had practicals on, like we had a practical even on hardware, like how the LAN button LAN wire works. Like there are two types of connections, so we had practical on that. And also we used to make network topologies on Cisco packet tracer program, Cisco program. I don't know the exact name. And do the practicals on how to sniff the packets. So like yeah, so uh,
Wow.
with the Wireshark, with the Wireshark software. And I think not only theory but the practical knowledge should be there, just to just to see what you have been taught. So I think, and in also algorithm labs, we had to code many programs. Like we had to code AVL trees, we had to code Huffman coding, and all those kinds of programs. And first, the instructor would teach us that topic in the class, and then we used to do it. We used to do the coding in the lab. So yeah, I think that helped us very much in our DSA learning.
Your labs were also on hacker rank.
No, the questions just we need to code the questions on separate files. Like we did not used to submit it on any online judge platform like CodeChef or HackerRank or Hacker. So the testing was actually Like I think the testing was the mediocre part of the lab. Like instructor just would try to would try put on 2 or 3 test cases, and if all test cases works fine, then your code is correct. So like I think that's not the correct way. It should be tested. The code should be tested on many test cases and also the edge cases. Yeah. So that's how the labs work. But I think this can be an improvement, that the questions can be submitted on the online judge platforms.
Ravishankar, would you like to add to this?
Yeah, so I will talk about how slightly different it is at BITS Goa compared to NIT Allahabad, and rest parts are very similar to NIT Allahabad, so which I will skip. So what happens is in our C programming course, as well as data structures course, as well as algorithms course, we and OOP uh, courses. So in these 4 courses, which we have labs on online coding platforms such as CodeChef or HackerRank, or for OOP, we had developed our own internal judge, because for OOP, it becomes difficult to set and test questions on HackerRank. So OOP is a really interesting case, which I would like to talk in detail. So what happens is we have our own internal judge, which had some cool name, which I forgot. So it is like our own code chef, you can say. And what happens is we have uh, some marks designated for each of the topics that each of the feature that we implement. So let's say if the question is about making some kind of car inventory management system, and if we had a feature which if we are making a car class, so car class would have some points for adding the speed part, some points for adding the car uh, type, or some things like that, and based on those we get partial points, and as your solution gets more and more complete, you get more points. So those are set by unit tests. And then next what happens is in C programming, DSA and data structures design and analysis of algorithms course, we have labs on HackerRank or CodeChef, which is very similar to competitive programming, and which we have, like, let's say we have 1.5 hour lab in which we have like 2-3 questions, and the questions are set by oh yeah, I think I forgot to talk about the teaching part. So what happens is we have lectures, and after that we have teaching assistants tutorials. So in the tutorials we have 1 hour of tutorial in which we are taught implementation and some basic questions from that topic. So let's say if we are taught stack in if we are taught stack in a lecture, we will be taught let's say stock spanning problem or some standard problem like string matching or such things in the stack tutorial. And based on that we will have a lab in which before the lab also we get some practice questions, and based on that we have lab which are usually tough. So that our labs are usually set tough, because if the labs are set so easy, everybody will get full score, and that's not a good way to rank students. So this is how our labs work. And for OS, I think we did not have proper labs, but we had unofficial kind of labs in which the TAs took tutorials, and we had to code OS solutions which use mutex and threads and such things. And
Hmm.
I think we had manual evaluation for OS lab, similar to what Milan told. And the TAs would run our OS code on 2 or 3 test cases, and if those worked, I think we got points. And I think we also had partial scoring there. And for networks lab, again, we had labs on Wireshark as well as C programming using, I think, what is it called? Some network commands like make, like connect to uh, PCs using their messaging queue and such things. So, yeah, I think make SSH, such kind of questions. And yeah, written assignments and submissions are basically not a thing which we hear in BITS at all. But at sometimes, yeah, let's say if the course is some, yeah, I think another thing that I would like to talk about is machine learning. So how are machine learning courses taught at BITS Goa? So we have like 4 or 5 machine learning courses, and which are taught using Kaggle. So we have labs on Kaggle, in which like yeah, just like just like machine learning or sorry, just like competitive coding or Kaggle contest, we have labs on Kaggle on which your solution is tested on Kaggle dataset.
Interesting, very
Also,
interesting.
I would like to uh, add a few labs. Like we had a lab on shell programming and system calls, and also in the seventh semester we had a lab on uh, the distributed computing. So I think those labs were very fun, and the question level of questions were very good. So I think that helps in no in not just competitive programming, but to learn other things which are generally taught in computer science.
Okay, okay. So any student at, let's say any engineering college has some kind of academic commitments, let it be in terms of lecture hours or attending labs or doing assignments or preparing for exams and all these things. And competitive coding is something that happens in their own and spare time. So, and I have been to DII city, and I have often listened seniors advising their juniors that you should code every day. So I am curious that how the both of you managed your day-to-day coding. How much time did you spend coding on a daily basis, and how did you find that time? Because you have a very rigorous academic uh, schedule, as well as you said you have tutorials and labs and lecture hours and projects and things like that. So amongst all these things, how did you manage your time and spared it for coding on a day-to-day basis?
Okay, I think I'll take it first. So how much did I code every day? So probably I think uh, I would say most of my waking hours, other than whatever college takes, so maybe like 4 or 6 hours every day, whatever I get. I think that I spent that much amount of time on doing coding in my first and second year, during which I reached my peak in competitive coding. After which I left, and then I think yeah. So I think how did it work? So mostly we have. I think the way it works in BITS Goa is we have a lecture, then we have 1 or 2 hours of break, then we have another lecture to randomly and so on. It's not like continuous hours from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. So we have lectures from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., but those have random breaks in between. So based on that, whenever I got a break between two lectures, I used to go back to my room or library and or take laptop with me in college, and I used to solve code chef questions between those lecture breaks, as well as in evening after all classes and on weekends or holidays, etc. And basically I spent most of my time doing that, and I think I solved some thousand plus problems on all online judges combined. And what else? How uh, how does it work, alone or with friends? So I think mostly it was in groups. So as I
I think I will continue from here. So in my college, what happens is in first year we have all kinds of subjects, like subjects from mechanical engineering or civil, chemical. We had physics, chemistry, maths courses. So in first year, generally all the students focus on getting good CPI and SPI, because in first year generally what happens in 12th standard we would focus on the percentage. So it it is just same as in first year, but then in second year we realized that competitive coding is must for getting a good job. So I think in second year uh, I did spend maybe 5 to 6 hours per day on coding. Like on long contest, it would go higher, because in long contests we would compete with each other to get the solutions first. So we had to spend more time on the questions. And third year, I switched from competitive programming to web development and learning more languages. Like I learned Node.js, Django, and all these things. So in third year, the competitive programming was like was not on daily basis, but I used to take part in core courses contests, which generally happens in thrice a week, maybe I think twice or thrice a week. So in third year I did not do the competitive programming on daily basis. Rather than that, I worked on some of my projects and try to learn other things than competitive programming. And then in final year, after getting the job, it's time to, I think, chill with friends
Hmm.
mainly, and and now I'm doing some coding questions on lead code just to like being good at competitive programming, because if you leave the competitive programming, then you need to start it again. So just doing practice is good.
Uh,
I would like to continue with one of the points of Milan. So what he talked about coding every day. So I think what happens is at least in your initial days until you reach some maximum peak, like let's say 5 or 6 star on Code Chef. Until then, you should code every day, because what happens is now if you do some competitive programming and if you leave at some point, what will happen is you might even forget the earlier things that you learned, and you might have to relearn things. So that's a very bad thing to happen, because your time is wasted. So I think because of that, having a continuity is important. And other than that, if you are preparing for placements, I think you have to basically go full on lead code or interview beta, such sites which have questions which are asked from in various companies. So like if I were to talk about myself, I did a second year internship at Homi Baba Center in Mumbai, which was backend web development.
Okay. So I see a common pattern in both of your stories, that you did intensive competitive coding in your first year at your college, and maybe continued it in second year, but then you got busy with finding internship and then properly preparing for placements. Because like I personally feel that placement preparation is little bit different than competitive coding, because you also have to revise on your fundamentals, I mean computer science fundamentals, and you also have to look into other things which are not generally checked in your competitive coding skill set. So it's already June month starting, and of course in every institute we would be having placement season from July, and GC Bhavnagar is no different in that, and we are so our pre-final year students would be seeking for placements, and I'm very glad to know about this, that you both of you are interested in mentoring our students, building their coding skills, and you are coming with this DSA Learning Series. So can you briefly tell me about what is your plan, how you plan to mentor our students using your skills and experience, and how it is going to be beneficial for them, and not just for pre-final year students who are going to sit for placements, but how it can be beneficial for everyone from first year student to the final year student, and or even some of the students who are already have started working in industries and looking for a job change in future in some product based companies. So I think the data structure and algorithm learning series that you are bringing for GEC Bhavnagar students is going to help us all. So please brief a little about that.
So yeah, I think the problem is that GC Bhavnagar students have the lack of guidance. If we talk in the terms of competitive programming, so I have some friends in GC Bhavnagar, but as far as I know, I think they are not doing that much of competitive programming that we used to do in our first year, second year, third year. So I think giving them proper guidance and giving them a head start will boost the confidence, and I think they can crack interviews if they are good in competitive programming. So I think like we got the guidance and the inspiration from our final year seniors. I think we can give such kind of inspiration or guidance to the GEC students, and I think it can help them learning data structures and algorithms, and it can help them cracking coding interviews in future if they are sitting on the in such kind of interviews. And um, yeah, I think we are just here to guide them properly, and once they are self-sufficient to make a good programming community in their college, so in GC Bhavnagar, I think they can pass on that knowledge to their next batch and so on. Like, I think we are just giving them a head start, and then they can maintain the community on their own.
Would you like to add something to it, Ravishankar?
Yeah. Did he talk about how we are going to conduct these?
No, no.
No. That is
Okay, sir.
what I'm asking you. That please brief about what activities you are planning to be done under this data
Okay.
structure algorithm learning series.
Okay. So what are we planning to do? So we are planning to uh, like upload a video on upload some resources on the like we will pick a DSA topic, like let's say arrays, and then we will send some resources on what are like some resources on how to learn basics of arrays and some basic questions from it. And then we are planning to conduct contest on that topic, and based after the contest we can try to keep a solution discussion of the contest. And based on your feedback and everything, we will continue about how to go about things. And then first of all, I think we are trying to keep contest this weekend, which all of you should try to attempt. And in that
Yeah.
contest we will test basics of, I think most of the data structures and algorithms, and we will see how your batch is doing in various things. And based on that, we will continue for this for like rest of the June.
Okay, and is this contest and this data structure and learning series, data structures algorithm learning series as whole, is only for, let's say, pre-final year students or final year students, or can also our first and second year student also join this? And so for in GTU, we learn C programming in our first year. I mean, our first year students learn C programming in both the semesters. So they know C programming, but still they might not be knowing, C++ or Java or object-oriented programming concepts and all the data structures and algorithms. So they might feel a little overwhelmed or a little confused that, will it be something that they can cope up with, or will it be too difficult for them? So how are you planning to mentor our freshmen and sophomore students?
I think for first and second year students also, we will try to keep the questions and the contest in a way that they can also attempt. And we will start from all the way from basic topics like STL and how to and arrays, stacks, linked lists, etc. And we will not directly jump into advanced topics like DP or graphs and such things. So we will try to start from basics. And for first year students, maybe it can get difficult because like all the questions might not be solved from C, because you will have to use STL and C++ or Java standard libraries. But I think we will give resources on for them to learn that as well. So I think from first year itself people can get started. But our primary focus will be third year students who will be appearing for placement just now. But for first year and second year students also, it's a really great opportunity because if they get a head start from right now, what will happen is in the next 1 or 2 years they can improve a lot in competitive coding and maybe reach 5 star or so on code chef. And yeah, I think that's a great opportunity for them. And I think as I and Milan talked about, in our first and second year we did most of competitive programming, and in third year I think we stopped. So I think, yeah, I think first and second year are a good time for doing competitive programming.
Yeah.
Okay. Milan, would you like to add something to this?
Yeah, so like for first year, I think if they are getting familiarized with the syntax of C++ or Java, whichever they feel comfortable. So mostly in competitive programming, what happens? Mostly programmers use C++ because it is fast, and also some of them uses Java. So like these are two standard programming lang. These are two programming languages which is used in competitive coding mostly. So and I think if they are familiarized with syntax in first year, I think they can start in second year, or maybe in the end of the first year, or maybe in the second semester. So yeah, it's never too late to learn anything. Uh, uh, so I think and for second year and third year, if they know the syntax of C, C++, or Java, I think they can solve the competitive programming questions. But first years are also welcome to solve questions. I think in contest we'll try to keep first two questions which can be solved with C programming easily. So I think that won't be much. There won't be much problem for first years also. But I think for third year it is necessary to know the concepts of programming, because in 1 year they are going to sit for the placements, and I think it will help them very much.
Right, right. Okay. So just to sum it up, what I could gather from what both of you told is that you will be sharing resources from where they can learn different data structures and algorithms, and then you will be designing coding contests for our GC Bhavnagar students where they are supposed to participate, and then you
Yeah,
will be discussing the solutions of the questions you have asked them, and there would be also a doubt solution session or something like that. On that note, I would like to ask you that if our students need help in learning, or if they are stuck, for example, you shared some resource and they are not able to make the meaning out of it, so it would be helpful for them to get you know uh, help from you. So how can they reach out to you, like what platforms they should use, or should they write your email address, or like how can they reach you, because you are going to be mentors for this program, right?
I think for this, I think the best way would be if all of us join the Facebook group, because what happens is
yeah.
people will be asking similar questions like,
The Facebook group will be best solution, because in our college it works that way, that students generally post questions on the Facebook group, and the seniors can reply in comments, and also seniors can share their code, or I think they can connect in the direct messaging. So I think Facebook group will be the better solution. Because if similar question is asked, we can just redirect them to the previous post where that question was asked. Yeah.
Okay. So on a concluding note, would you like to send a brief message to our students, maybe for encouraging them to be part of this DSA Learning Series or something like that?
let's see, if we get maximum participation in this, and uh, if I think if we get high participation in this, and GC Bhavnagar starts competitive coding culture, I think good companies will start coming to GC Bhavnagar as well.
So yeah, I think if we are able to give them a head start, I think that will be very great for GEC Bhavnagar, and it can boost the placement stats in GEC Bhavnagar. I think so many companies from Bangalore would be uh, coming for GC Bhavnagar. So even if they don't visit the campus, I think there are many pool contests organized by companies. So if GEC Bhavnagar is in their list, they can allow GEC Bhavnagar students to compete with other college students for getting the interviews of companies. So I think pool contest can be a very good option for GEC Bhavnagar students if companies don't visit, but they allow GEC Bhavnagar for the competitive coding test of the company.
Yeah, definitely.
Also, I think there are one or two companies like there are a few companies like DirectEye, ShareChat, etc., which hire solely based on competitive programming. So like they do not focus much on your college. So like if even if you are from GEC Bhavnagar or if you are from IIT Bombay, it does not matter to them. Like if you have some high rating on CodeChef, like let's say 5-star and above, and if you try to get there probably, or if you are, or I would like to talk about my own experience. So like I went to ICPC regionals in third year, and based on that, DirectEye approached me on their own to asking me to apply for full-time or 6 months internship or a summer internship when I was in fourth year. So similarly, if you are doing well in competitive programming, such companies are ready to hire you based on competitive programming. And then there is Google Kickstart, and then there is Facebook Hacker Cup, which are solely based on competitive programming. So if you get a good rank there, you can even get into Google and terms and conditions apply. I think competitive programming represents a good opportunity for GEC Bhavnagar to reach at par with other institutes, and so that yeah, students can get good opportunities like through this.
Okay. So
And you can also check out YouTube channels of Rachit Jain and Gaurav Sen, and how Gaurav Sen, despite not being from a not so good college, which is very similar to GEC Bhavnagar, he went to, I think, first Morgan Stanley and then DirectEye, and now he was recently at Uber, which focus a lot on competitive programming while hiring. So I think you can check out Gaurav Sen and how he reached here.
Okay. So, thank you so much. And on this concluding note, I would again like to tell every student of GEC Bhavnagar that our institute is actively investing in bringing more companies to our campus and making you more skilled. And this data structure and algorithm learning series is also one step in this direction. So both Ravishankar and Milan has got excellent programming experience, and they are here to mentor you learning coding. So take the maximum advantage of their time and their interest in teaching you, and be a great coder. And maybe yes, for next couple of years maybe we cannot directly bring companies like Google, Microsoft, Amazon, but of course you will not be limited to what companies are coming to campus right now if you are a good competitive coder, right? So this should be a good motivation for all of you to get started with competitive programming. And I think this DSA learning series, which is being organized particularly focusing on your strengths and weaknesses, and it's specially tailored for your needs. So I would say it's a perfect start. So get started with this and take the maximum advantage of Milan and Ravishankar's skills and experience. On that note, again, Milan and Ravishankar, I thank the both of you on behalf of GEC Bhavnagar for taking this time and being interested in mentoring our students. And of course, our student community will be greatly benefited from this DSA learning series. And I hope we see a huge participation from all your students at GEC Bhavnagar. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks.